recipes.
I'm Dr. Bertelman, and we're on Facebook, and you guys are here with us today, and we're going to talk about the immune system. And it's who you're going to call when your immune system needs help. I personally found that as a pharmacist, it was very typical for our patients to be given antibiotics regardless of what they showed up for, because that's pretty much expected by the American population. You go to the doctor's office, they give you a prescription. But that's not always the case. The body doesn't always need a prescription for antibiotics. We're going to talk about the immune system tonight. There are 4 basic immune challenges that someone can actually have, that their immune system is upregulated. We can have parasites, we can have a fungal infection, we can have a bacterial infection, and we can have a viral infection. We're going to stay with viruses and bacteria tonight because that's kind of the most common things. It's not always common to have a fungal infection, although it's possible, or a parasitic infection, although that is also possible. The immune system is a system. It is not a singular thing. It is a complex network of organs and the vascular system, the blood, that actually works together to protect us. We have sentinels, or cells, that are inside our blood system all the time, whether we have an immune challenge or not. They're actually out there looking, and they go around and they look at everything. Are you me? Are you friendly? Or do we need to do something about you? And that goes from the foods that we eat, or walking through someone who's accidentally sneezed or coughed in our direction, and those types of particles that go into our system. The body is constantly trying to protect us with our immune system on a normal basis, on an everyday basis. These are our immune system friends. The mucous membranes, the reason we get all congested, the reason we have runny, stuffy noses, and we feel like we have this stuff packed into our sinuses, that is actually part of our immune system trying to help protect us. The lymphatic system brings cellular debris back into the cardiovascular system so that it can be gotten rid of by the liver and then extinguished out of the bowels. Thymus. When we're children, our thymus gland is actually larger. As we get older, the thymus gland becomes smaller, but it is part of our immune system where it's making the T cells, which is part of the memory system of our immune system. The skin. A big barrier. We actually need intact skin to have a proper immune system. Those people who have large degree of burns or large degree of wounds are very vulnerable to having an invasion of some type of an immune challenge into their bodies. So the skin is a very important part of our immune system. Bone marrow, where our body actually makes the white blood cells and the platelets that protect us as part of our immune system. Tonsils, some of us have them, some of us don't. Mine were taken out when I was a kiddo, but if we can keep our tonsils, they are a very important part of our immune system. They protect us as we're breathing in potential immune challenges or swallowing potential immune challenges. They're part of the lymphatic system. If we were able to keep them healthy instead of removing them, they are a viable part of our adult immune system. For those of us that don't have them, we deal with it in other ways, as the body is always able to adapt to the things that we do to it. But tonsils that are continued to stay inside throats are actually super positive. Lymph nodes, part of the lymphatic system. The spleen, it's here on the left-hand side of the body. It is a very important part of the immune system. The spleen also takes out old red blood cells, making sure that our blood system is cleaned and fresh so that any debris that comes through there is the spleen's responsibility. And then the lymphatic vessels. So the lymph system, the lymph nodes, and the lymphatic vessels all work together as debris removal. The immune response is how your body recognizes and defends itself. Again, the body is always looking at everything that comes into it, whether it's a food or an invader, asking, are you friendly, are you us, or do we have to do something about you? Basically engulf you, kill you, and get rid of it. We have something that we call innate immunity. It's a scientific term. It's not just something that we use here with nutrition response testing, but it is the immune system that you are actually born with. We are all born with some sort of an immune system, and this is part of it. The innate immune system includes those barriers that we talked about, like the skin, for example, the spleen, the tonsils that are part of us when we're actually developing in utero. Passive immune is what happens to us as we get older and actually have immune challenges coming into our system. Poor little kiddos. There's nothing that's sorrier than a poor little kid with a runny, stuffy nose. But that, unfortunately, is part of their growing up. They have to go through that. What's happening is that they're being bombarded by the bacteria, the dust, the mites, the funguses, the environment that they live in, and their body is trying to figure out, are you friendly or do we have to do something about you? Because there is no memory when you are a child, the body is taking everything in and creating an immune system that has memory. For example, if we have chickenpox virus, the body actually gets the virus into the system, the body creates an immune response to that chickenpox, the body remembers that. You only get chickenpox typically once. You can be around your children with chickenpox and you will never get chickenpox again. Even though shingles is in the same family as chickenpox, it is not chickenpox. It is a mutation of the chickenpox virus that reestablishes itself as we're adults. So that's what the body is doing. When it comes in contact with a virus or a fungus or a parasite or a mold, it takes a picture of it. It puts it inside the immune system and it becomes a memory. The next time we're infected or affected by that type of virus, fungus, etc., the body has a quicker response to it. Passive immunity can also be derived with vaccinations. So vaccinations have a place in our immune system. The way we vaccinate might not be appropriate, but being vaccinated is not necessarily inappropriate. We just have to kind of think about what we're doing and make smarter choices with our kiddos and our grandkiddos. I'm fully vaccinated. That was the way it was done in the day. There are folks that are not vaccinated at all, and that's okay too. The body does have its ability to make proper immunity with and without vaccinations. Whether someone's vaccinated or not is not really the topic of this particular talk tonight. We're just saying that it is a way to boost our immunity and actually have memory so that the next time we're in contact with that type of a thing, polio for example, the immune system is already ready to have an immune response so that we don't have to necessarily get sick from that type of an infection. Blood components, we talked about that. T cells and B cells are part of our immune system, and they're also part of that memory system that we talk about. Whenever we do become affected or infected with something, it's these cells that actually produce the memory for the future. So they work together. If you have memory, they bring back up those cells. They know exactly how to handle them. They know exactly how to kill them, and they take care of it right away. If you've never been affected or infected by those before, that's when they take a sample, bring it back to the other cell. The cell makes a memory, and then they start making a colony of soldier cells that can go in and treat that immune system, help that immune system treat that immune challenge. We're talking about bacteria and viruses tonight. Bacteria, let's talk about the differences between the two and why we need an antibiotic for a bacteria versus bacteria. Antibiotics will not help a virus at all. A bacteria is a fully living organism. It invades our system, but it does not need our system in order to survive. It comes with its own cell membrane, its own RNA and DNA, its own ability to multiply, its own cell walls, and its specific way of metabolizing the foods that it needs. Antibiotics are used because they can target the cell because the cell is alive and it is opposite and separate from us. Bacterial meningitis, bacterial conjunctivitis, bacterial infections like strep throat, staph infections on the skin can be treated with antibiotics because they are living organisms of themselves. They are not part of us, and I'll explain what that means. Viruses are only parts of a living organism. Viruses are either DNA parts or RNA parts, and they actually have to bind with our cells in order to become a living organism. Basically, what viruses do is they hijack our cells and they create an incubator inside our own cells where they're creating more of themselves, which are just parts of cells. When that cell is killed due to the immune challenge, it releases more of those individual RNA or DNA parts, which invade more of our cells. Right now, the one that we really understand the most about is the AIDS virus and how it actually affects our T cells specifically, which is part of our immune system. So the fragments attack our blood cells, the T cells, white blood cells. They actually become part of those white blood cells, creating dysfunction inside those white blood cells. And then when they multiply, they attack more of our white blood cells, bringing down our body's ability to mount a response against that virus. Viruses are so small that the smallest bacteria is still larger than the largest virus. Viruses are microscopic, very, 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 very tiny. Again, they're only fragments of a living organism. They need to affect and infect a living organism in order to multiply and continue. The reason antibiotics don't work for viruses is because the body sees the virus as self in the beginning, because it is in our cells, and the antibiotic is not meant to kill our cells. It's meant to kill a living organism that is separate from ourselves. And the different metabolic processes that a bacteria does is not the same as a virus that has hijacked one of our cells will do inside of our body. So the body becomes very confused when it gets attacked by a virus because it is part of us and part of something else. So until the virus actually mounts a larger infection in the body sometimes doesn't even see it. Something that we'll find is that when a bacteria comes into the body, we almost immediately get a fever. When a virus comes into the body, it takes a long time for the body to actually even know it's there. We might feel a little bit of a sore throat, not really sure what's going on. We might feel a little bit tired, not really sure if that's just the end of the day. When a bacteria hits us, we know it. We have red, itchy, painful throat. We have yellow or green mucus, or we're coughing up a lot of green phlegm. Viruses don't do that. So the body takes a lot longer to kind of realize that it has a virus. The common cold and the flu. These are two of the most common viruses that we're going to come in contact with here at Lakeland Natural Health or even in our environment. We support the immune system here with nutrition response testing in a couple of different ways. And I think I'm probably jumping ahead of myself. Yeah. What we're talking about here is nutrition. So we have to understand that nutrition is a very important part of how our bodies are going to respond to an immune challenge. Truly, if we are malnourished, we are not going to be able to mount a proper immune response. Unfortunately, Americans are some of the largest people in the world and also simultaneously some of the most malnourished people in the world. We think that when we see someone who is very large or someone who is obese, they're eating a lot of great food. But the reality is that they're eating a lot of poor quality food. Malnourishment will actually make your body very vulnerable to an immune infection. The body cannot produce a proper immune response if it doesn't have the raw ingredients needed to produce that immune response. We need healthy organs. That requires vitamins, minerals, digestive enzymes. We need healthy hormones to tell the organs what to do. For example, the bone has to be told by the kidney through erythropoietin that it needs to make bone cells. That's hormones. That's communication between one organ system and another organ system. If we don't have the proper raw ingredients, we're not going to have that proper communication, or it's going to be slow or sluggish. Sugars and high processed foods are also going to create a lot of inflammation. So the immune system's already going to be confused as to what am I supposed to be going after. We've got all this inflammation going on. I'm already trying to help these organ systems work better, and now we've got something else going on over here. So who am I supposed to choose? Who is the most important thing that we have to handle? Foods that are going to help our bodies be the healthiest are always going to be your fruits and your vegetables, your good amino acid sources, and things that have great digestive enzymes and fatty acids. Citrus fruit, as we all know, great with vitamin C. But eating a real fruit versus drinking juice or taking a supplement like those packet things or throwing those in your water, your body's really going to respond a lot more positively if we're actually eating a citrus fruit. Red bell peppers also have a lot of vitamin C. Broccoli is a superfood. Some people like it, some people hate it. It really does have almost everything that we need as far as great vitamins and minerals. Garlic has allicin in it, and that is great. When I was a kiddo and we had sore throats, our chiropractor used to have us cut the garlic in little slivers, put them in the backs of our teeth and hold them down with our molars, and allow that garlic and saliva to go down our throats, because you were supercharging that immune system and you were also acidifying that throat with that garlic, and bacteria can't live in an acidic environment. So there are things that we can do outside of the antibiotic or pharmaceutical world that can also help us get over some sicknesses. Ginger, beautiful anti-inflammatory. Spinach, tons of antioxidants, tons of vitamin C. Yogurt, live cultures. Remember, gut health is also part of immune health. It's extremely important to have those great bacteria which are beneficial in our guts producing a proper immune response when we have a bad bacteria trying to invade our system. Almonds, we talked about those fatty acids, so that's going to be vitamin E and fatty acids. Turmeric, great anti-inflammatory, and we don't have to take a turmeric tablet to get turmeric. Right now, turmeric seems to be the fad thing to do. Adding a little bit of turmeric to your food actually does not change the flavor of your food, and it introduces into your system beautiful antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. Green tea, wonderful antioxidant. Papaya, another fruit loaded with vitamin C and digestive enzymes. Kiwi, again with our vitamins and minerals. Poultry, high in B6, so we're looking for those B vitamins. Sunflower seeds and shellfish, shellfish high in zinc. Kind of some tips and hints for a healthy immune system. Of course, we all not smoking is going to be very healthy for us. If we've got toxins in our system and we're affecting those lungs, we can make them very vulnerable. Most of the time we're breathing in immune challenges, most often. Sometimes we do get them affecting us through the skin. Sometimes we get them through not hand washing properly. But if the lungs are healthy and we're walking through someone who sneezed or coughed, we're less likely to get it if our tissue is actually healthy. Again, eating lots of fruits and vegetables. We want to eat them raw as often as possible. We want to eat 2 times as many vegetables as we do to fruit. So for every 2 vegetables, we have 1 fruit. The lower glycemic fruit are going to be better for us just for glycemic purposes. So our green apples and our berries are going to be the healthiest. Exercising helps to upregulate our immune system and keep our body strong. Keeping a proper body weight and drinking to keep us hydrated. Dehydration is going to make you more vulnerable to immune challenges. Sleeping well, washing our hands so that we're not passing immune challenges on from one person to the next. And we're not talking about this crazy carrying around this gel and wiping our hands down and wiping down the buggies. I appreciate that, but it's not necessary. Having a small infusion of your environmental bacteria does in fact keep your immune system strong. You don't have to walk around with the gel and constantly washing your hands with the gel. Soap and water has been the historic best way for you to wash your hands. When you're washing your hands, you should wash your hands for about the same time that you would be singing the alphabet. So for about 26 to 30 seconds. We did that in pharmacy to make sure that we always washed our hands appropriately before we went from one thing to the next. You just want to wash your hands. You want to make sure that you get between the fingers. You want to come up to the wrist. And when you rinse your hands, you want to rinse them from the wrist with your fingers hanging down so that all the debris is actually going into the sink. It's simple. And then we're going to try to minimize stress. Good luck. It's the Christmas season and we're all under a bit of stress. We're meeting family and friends. We're eating things that we shouldn't eat. People are driving a little bit erratically right now. Slow down. Let them do their craziness and you don't get involved as much as you possibly can. The last thing I want to talk about before we go to the next slide is I do want to talk about fevers, and I meant to put a slide in here regarding fevers and I didn't. Fevers are the body's way of helping the immune system to actually mount a proper response. When we are tamping down a fever with ibuprofen or Tylenol, the moment we get that fever, we're actually creating a vulnerable immune system. Fevers at a normal fever level, we're not talking about 106, 107, we're not talking about extreme fevers. 101, 102, or even 103 is not an extreme fever for most adults. We're not talking about kiddos, we're talking about adults. With an adult who has a fever, we want to make sure that they're staying hydrated. We want to make sure that they're having plenty of time to rest, but we don't want them lingering in bed for hours and hours and days. They should be getting up. We really do have to get that blood moving so it's not staying stagnant in just one particular location, lying in bed, for example. Getting up, going to the bathroom is not long enough. Getting up and making a circuit around the house, inside the house a couple of times would be better. We have to keep that body moving. There's nothing wrong with lying down. There's nothing wrong with a cool towel on the forehead. As long as the person does not become delirious or overly fever, and we're talking about the 104s, 105s, because we do have to protect the brain from fever, it is the body's natural response to getting that immune system upregulated and helping that immune system fight that immune challenge. Our bodies at 98.6, give or take, are the perfect temperature for incubation of viruses and bacteria. The reason the body rises that body temperature is to make it uncomfortable for the bacteria and the virus. If you're putting ibuprofen or Tylenol on top of that rising fever, you're not allowing the body to actually do what it's naturally meant to do. Any of my patients who come in with fevers, we have calcium lactate that we help with fevers. We also have a fever bath that we give out to our patients. And we also explain how we're going to help them take care of their bodies so that their fevers don't mount excessively, and yet we allow the fever to take place so that the body can heal itself. So lastly, who are you going to call if you have an immune challenge? I personally would like it to be me first. I'm not saying that I'm not going to send you to the doctor for an antibiotic. But I am saying that we're going to test you here in the office to make sure that it's not a virus or something that we can help you handle naturally. We have great whole food supplements that help to upregulate the immune system and to support it as it's going through immune challenges. We try not to do antibiotics or antivirals here. I am a pharmacist as well. I will be the first one to let you know you must go to the doctor. I have sent my patients to the doctor. I have told them that they need antibiotics. We can recover from a bacterial infection that needs an antibiotic and kills off some of our gut flora a lot better than I can pick up a dead body. We don't want anyone dying from bacteria. We don't want anyone getting so sick that they're hospitalized. If you need an antibiotic, I will be the first one to let you know. If I'm not around and you're uncomfortable with that, by all means. All I'm saying is that be very careful about taking antibiotics consistently without knowing if you actually have a bacterial infection or a viral infection.